Stop.
Deep within a bleak and dismal swamp, hidden beneath its murky waters, lies the headquarters of the most sinister villains of all time. The Legion of Doom.
Okay.
Welcome, Egyptians, monks, and guardians, to the 104th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, featuring the Daleks Master Plan, written by Terry Nation and Dennis Spooner, and streaming live on the 29th of April 2015. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell,
Arg.
Randy Ronson McCulloch,
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke, and Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Hi!
Oof.
Wow. We had two iffies and a perky.
I was expecting some kind of strange noise to come from Tim at that point.
Yeah, like that.
Even trying to get this podcast start today just grinds my gears. Oh my.
So all of us are here, which means that none of our theaters offered the 24-hour Marvel marathon, huh? Or not? It's like
No.
36-hour, I think.
Nope. We can't even, at this point, go to see it with friends tomorrow. We're going to wait for the discount theater on Tuesday.
I'm trying to make it tomorrow night after work.
Which means, unfortunately, that I'm going to have to go through 2 gaming sessions with people that are going to be talking about it. At least
yes.
one of them I know somebody else is going to be going, shut up, because he won't have seen it either. So, that's a plus.
I don't
So,
have any
shall
gaming
we-
groups that are at least regularly active right now, so haha.
So, shall we go to the news?
Yep.
We shall.
All right. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wish a happy birthday to Jenna Coleman, formerly Jenna Louise Coleman, who has turned 29 2 days ago. Happy birthday, Jenna. She, of course, is the current companion for Doctor Who as Clara Oswald.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing on into Series 9, although if she will continue beyond that, we do not know. I believe that's pretty much all she's doing. She's currently filming, I believe, the 3rd filming block for Doctor Who, which, of course, will air this fall.
Yep.
Yeah, it was the 3rd filming block as of this past week. I'm assuming they're still filming it. So.
If they started a week ago, they're still filming it because they're filming a block.
I don't know if
is
they said
multiple
when they
episodes.
started. They just said they were in progress of the 3rd filming block.
Somebody posted a video, I think Thursday or like the day after we podcasted, saying that they had just finished day 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's probably the video with the producer. I didn't realize they had said that part. Okay.
Yep, we just finished filming day 1. Yeah, he didn't really say anything else of import, so.
Yeah, that's why I didn't save the video.
So moving on, Aaron.
Okay, so in Lost Stories, we have the death of Rex Robinson, born 1926 and, past 2015. The actor Rex Robinson has died at the age of 89. He appeared in 3 Doctor Who stories, all directed by Australian Lenny Mayne. In 1972, he played Dr. Tyler in the 10th anniversary story The Three Doctors, playing the scientist who joined forces with the Doctor and unit to help defeat Omega. He returned the following year in The Monster of Peladon to play Peladon. To play Gebek. Gebek or Jebek?
That I couldn't tell you because I've never seen that serial.
Yeah.
Gebek
A
sounds familiar.
Peladonian trisilicate miner. His final appearance in Doctor Who came in 1976 when he played another Doctor, Dr. Carter, in the Tom Baker story The Hand of Fear. Away from Doctor Who, Robinson appeared in a number of classic British television programs, including Gems, Bread, One by One, Only Fools and Horses, Just Good Friends, Are You Being Served? Oh, I was a big fan of Are You Being Served? Terry and June, The Onedin Line, Softly, Softly, Task Force, Warship, Upstairs, Downstairs, Colin, The Planemakers, Ghost Squad, and Champion Road. He's survived by his wife, Patricia Pryor, who also appeared in 3 Doctors. Well, he seemed to have lived a long life, and there's no indication of what he died from, so...
Yeah, I hadn't seen what he died of, but at 89, you're pretty much looking at natural causes. Even if he died of something like cancer, they consider it natural causes if you're around 90.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think.
So
yeah,
we consider 80 a good run. 90 is respectable. If you hit 100, you're revered.
And it seems like he's been in a lot of different stuff, and I do recognize Are You Being Served? I used to watch that on PBS with my mom. We used to be big fans, as well as Upstairs, Downstairs was another one we watched on a regular basis.
But yeah, that's he was big in set. I guess he was a character actor, is what you'd be considered, because he always seemed to play the scientist type mostly.
By the looks of it, yes.
He looked a bit like a British Gene Shalit, so.
Let's image.
Let's go ahead and move on that bombshell.
All right. More casting has been announced for the upcoming Series 9. David Schofield will appear in the new Doctor Who series. He is best known for playing King Alanid in the BBC fantasy drama series Merlin. And has also appeared in movies An American Werewolf in London, The Last of the Mohicans, and Gladiator. As well as playing Mr. Mercer in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
I've heard of a lot of his stuff then.
Apparently, he's also been in a few Big Finish Doctor Who audios as well, so he's not a stranger to Doctor Who.
Oh, that's good. It's nice when they get somebody with a bit of experience. I believe this article also mentions something that we hadn't reported last week, because I don't think we'd learned it yet, and that was that Rufus Hound is also going to be in there.
Yes, it does say Rufus Hound.
Yes, he's a British comedian of some renown, though I had not heard of him prior to this news posting, but I don't live in Britain. As much as I would like to, I do not live in Britain.
I don't live in Britain, and I have not heard of this man either. But I look forward to seeing him in Doctor Who.
He seems to have a good list of credits.
All right. Let's move on, Bill.
Yep. Moving on to our next piece. Doctor Who, for the second year in a row, has won the British Academy Television... I'll just go with... Because apparently they cut some words out in the shorter version. So I'll just say the BAFTA Television Craft Award for Best Special Visual and Graphic Effects for the second year running. The award goes to Milk VFX, Real SFX, and BBC Wales VFX for their work on Series 8.
And yes, we were wrong when we tried to correct it ourselves a couple weeks ago. It is Milk VFX.
Yes, I actually checked that before running the article just to be sure when I saw that again. And
Yep.
it is milk-vfx.com, so.
Yeah, it surprised me. I'm sorry. If I created a VFX studio, I would not be calling it Milk.
No.
Maybe they started in an old dairy barn. I don't know.
Maybe it used to be an abbreviation for something and that got lost. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. When they were announced in the awards, they said Milk VFX. I'm like, okay.
So they're getting
corrected,
this award
I stand.
for last year's visual effects?
I will admit I'm an opinionated person and I state my opinion, but if I am wrong, I will state I am wrong. And in this particular case, I was wrong. All right. So, also going on is we have a nomination for the Radio Times cover of the year, and it is from the issue that announced the arrival of Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. The Professional Publishers Association has listed the cover as one of 10 nominated for the award. Radio Times was nominated last year for the cover they had celebrating the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, but lost out to Metal Hammer when the results were announced. This year, Radio Times faces competition from Big Issue, Crumbs, GQ, Shortlist, Country Life, Elite, and Red and Time Out. Voting can be done from the PPA website. That is at www.ppa.co.uk/events/PPA Awards 2015/cover-of-the-year.
Vote for cover.
Vote for cover.
Thanks for voting.
All right. I don't really have much more to say on that one.
Yep. All right. Doctor Who Symphonic Spectacular comes to New York. BBC Worldwide North America has announced the Doctor Who Symphonic Spectacular is coming to New York later this year. The live show, which sold out when it premiered in Australia and is touring the UK this spring, will be staged for the first time in the US at Barclays Theater Center in Brooklyn, New York, on Wednesday, October 7th, 2015. The event, produced and presented by Vision 9, will be one of the headline events of New York Super Week, which takes over the city October 5th to 11th, and the lead up to the main event, New York Comic Con, taking place October 8th through the 11th at the Javits Center. The show will be hosted by actor Michelle Gomez, who portrays Missy, the latest incarnation of the Doctor's arch nemesis, the Master. She first appeared on screen in 2014 and returns to Doctor Who in the new season scheduled to air on Worldwide this autumn. And of course, Michelle has a few comments on that. If you'd like to, you can head over here and read them for yourself. She was a big fan of Doctor Who before she even joined the cast, apparently, so... Doctor Who Symphonic Spectacular, which celebrates the world's longest-running science fiction TV series, features the captivating and award-winning music of Murray Goad, who has composed for the series since 2005. The show will feature over 100 musicians and singers under the conducting baton of Ben Foster. So.
This is actually fairly big news because for the symphonic events before, while Australia had been included, the United States had not. So it is nice to see the BBC finally starting to recognize the U.S. fandom a little more and starting to include us in some of these events.
It's New York Comic Con too, so that's
going to be pretty big.
That's going to
be I'm kind of hoping
bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping next year when they do this, they'll do like New York and L.A., and then the year after New York, Chicago, and L.A., and then like New York, Chicago, Dallas, and L.A. kind of thing. Just keep increasing as they go on. I mean, they can only do so many shows because, of course, they have to be back to record the new series and the actors. Gomez, of course, was taking over for Peter Davidson, who was hosting the Symphonic Spectacular in the UK. And I cannot remember who was hosting it in Australia.
Yeah.
I think it was like one of the classic companions or something.
I thought that was also Davison.
I didn't think so, but it could have been.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would kind of like to see Gomez do the entire bit as Missy. That would actually be kind of
tickets
fairly
will
awesome.
be going on. Okay, yeah. Tickets are going to be going on sale Friday, May 8th, and it'll be $5.50 per ticket. Starting at, anyway.
That's not bad.
Starting at $50.50, not $5.
Okay,
yeah, $50.50.
That's a little more understandable then.
Sorry, did I say $5.50?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
I meant $50.50.
Whoa, not $5. That's awfully cheap.
Yeah, I was going to say that was quite a deal, but yeah, $50 sounds more like it.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Well, if you're into music, the soundtrack of Series 8 is now available to pre-order from Amazon in the United Kingdom and in North America. It will be released in the UK May 18th and North America May 26th.
By the way, Tim, we did actually cover the track listing and the release itself last week. It's mainly the contest that's the news for this week.
Okay. All right. As you've heard, there is a contest to win 5 copies of the CD collection up for grabs. In order to be given a chance of winning, you just answer the following question. Unfortunately, the live song featured in Mummy on the Orient Express was unable to be included in this release. But who was the singer and which song was performed in the episode? Please send your answers along with your name, address, and where you heard about the competition, news site, news app, other website, etc., to comp-silvascreen@doctorwhonews.net with the subject Fierce.
I think it was Don't Stop Me Down, wasn't it?
I think it was performed by Foxes.
Yeah, that's what it
closing
was.
date.
And thank you for telling everybody that, Bill. That just ruined our chances of getting these.
The competition is open worldwide. Closing date 18th of May 2015. Only 1 entry per household will be accepted.
I do remember I do remember me complaining about that. When we did the review of that particular episode.
Complaining about what aspect of it?
That live song.
Just that it was there?
Just that he didn't care for that version of the song.
Just the fact that they managed to recreate this 1930s, 40s railroad feel, and they get and what they're singing is a cover of Queen.
Yeah.
I remember me bitching about that a little bit.
I remember it being mentioned, but I thought we figured that was the future getting things wrong, just like when they brought out the old school jukebox with Britney Spears in Series 1.
No, that's what you figured. It still annoyed me.
Yeah.
So, keep speaking for yourself, Bill.
Okay. All right, moving on to, I believe, our next bit of news is our weekly coverage of Big Finish. Through Doctor Who magazine, Big Finish has announced some new 6th Doctor stories, beginning with Crisscross, which introduces a new companion by the name of Constance Clark. The blurb there is Constance. Oh no, actually that's not a blurb. That's a quote, but I'll use it anyway. Constance first meets the 6th Doctor at the famous World War II code-breaking facility at Bletchley Park. They're trying to crack a mysterious code and unmask a Nazi agent, one with otherworldly connections. Next, the next story after that is Planet of the Rani. Forgive me if I butcher her name. Siobhan Redmond, who played the Rani in the Rani Elite, returns. She apparently is imprisoned and is working to make her escape. And the final entry of the well, they claim it's a trilogy. I'm not sure if it's 3 unrelated stories or a trilogy. It sounds like 3 unrelated stories. Is Shield of the Jotun or Jotun, featuring an all-American guest cast.
You speak of these things, but I see none of them.
America.
What do you mean?
I was given links to a cover of Sylvester McCoy and something called Django and Lightfoot.
Well, that's because you didn't. I didn't link you to the image. I linked you to the article. The cover is there, but that's not the actual relevant part.
I'm telling you what I got.
The link. The only link with Sylvester McCoy has him on the left-hand side and then an article underneath it.
Yeah, and the stuff you're talking about, you gave me no link for.
It's in the article.
The article with Sylvester McCoy's photo is the one I just read to you.
Oh.
Yeah.
It has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about.
And as Matt mentioned, for fans of Django and Lightfoot from Talons of Wang Chiang, their series 9 of the Big Finish Django and Lightfoot range has been released. So I'm not going over all of the blurbs because that's a spin-off and not a very close one. But it features, looks like 4 stories for those who are interested.
I actually just got done listening to Terra Nerva where they first introduced the idea of the Django and Lightfoot spin-off, so very good story.
And I think that about covers our news, unless anybody had anything they wanted to bring up in the next 20 minutes before the summary.
You apparently had an article for Legacy.
Nope.
Yeah, but we've stopped
if we wanted to
reviewing.
talk about it,
we've kind of stopped talking about Legacy. It's kind of lost its pizzazz.
For those interested, there was, I think, a new character pack released.
Figures.
I haven't played it myself, but
I haven't played it in a long time.
I haven't played in a while either, just because match 4s just don't keep the enthusiasm after a while.
Kind of why I mentioned we've stopped reviewing it.
Then again, we might need an extra 20 minutes for the summary, considering how long the story is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Randy says he'll get it in 5 minutes, but I'll wait. I'll believe it when I see it. Test your might.
So what, you want me to start the summary now?
We don't really have anything else to go on right now.
Unless somebody has something they wanted to mention beforehand. I didn't check out any of the recent interviews. I know that there was a Lalo. I think it was a Lalo. No, it was either Lalo Ward or somebody else from the 4th Doctor era had a pre-Doctor Who interview.
It was Lalo Ward who had a pre-Doctor Who interview. It was when she was like 14.
Yeah. So I figured I didn't get the chance to read it myself, but I figured there probably wasn't that much relevant on it. I don't know if anyone listened to it.
I listened to a bit of it and then kind of realized she was 14 and turned it off because I didn't have the time.
Got you.
Because, yeah, that's not like she's going to be talking about her career in Doctor Who.
Right. It's
like, what are you going to want to be when you grow up, Lala? I'm going to be Romana from Doctor... I don't think so.
Well, she might say she wants to be in Doctor Who. The show had started by that point.
Yeah, it's actually that interview took place.
Actually, I think that was the same year as the episode we're talking about now.
That was what I was saying, Bill.
Oh,
if you hadn't interrupted me.
Yeah.
On the sensitive ear, Bill. Apply one shock to the
anybody else have anything else going on?
I'm operating the spotlight at a show production of Evita in Brooklyn that runs until May 17th. If you're living in New York City.
Wow, Tim, I keep forgetting that you don't live in Wisconsin. I heard that you were doing the show in Brooklyn. I'm like, holy crap, you've hit the big time, haven't you?
Oh, that's right. He lives in New York.
I forget he lives in New York. I know he doesn't live in Wisconsin, but
He lives that close to me, yet the first time we meet in person is probably going to be in Madison.
Yep.
Such is ironies of life.
That's because so much of this podcast is there's 3 out of the 5 people on this podcast live in the same general area,
More or less.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least can venture out to the same area.
Well, Aaron and I live close, as in the same apartment, and you live out in Mayberry with Andy Griffith and Opie.
Not anymore, I don't.
Stop worshiping Satan at Mount Pilot, Matt. Okay, so I guess I should move on to the summary, right?
Go forth and summarize.
Like I said, I'm going to try to do this summary in 5 minutes or less. Would anybody care to time me?
I'm watching the clock.
All right.
I'm watching the episode. Oh, no, the last bit of the episode.
You hadn't seen it all yet, Bill?
I hadn't gotten a chance to rewatch the last episode, so I'm trying to get the last half of that down now.
Okay.
That's why I've been so quiet during the news.
And yes, I was sipping my soda, Aaron, because I was, basically trying to wet my mouth for trying to do this in 5 minutes or less. So
I know, I was just commenting that I could hear you slurping.
Well, that's because
I keep hearing
little
wind.
left. There's little left in there, but ice and ice melt.
Does anyone know where the breeze is coming from? Because I keep hearing wind.
That might be from me. Let me turn the fan away from. That better?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Ran
I thought it wasn't directly.
No,
Going, but I guess it was
it
just
seems
close
like
enough
every time you use that lately, I keep hearing it.
No, that's actually the fan in front of the screen door.
Now, it could also be that Rand's microphone is more sensitive now, so you can actually hear the fan through the new microphone.
Yeah, I'm on a new headset, courtesy of Erin. The same trip that she just bought her new laptop that she's on right now. Also got me a replacement headphones. The previous one had broken the one of the side handles, and the headphone was actually dangling down. It looked fairly ridiculous, and was starting to slide off my head. So we basically bought a later model of the same brand. And it seems to be working okay. What do you guys think?
It's been fine so far.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Sounds good.
Yep, it was just getting just a little bit of that breeze from that fan.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
So, I'm trying to postpone till 10:30. How am I doing?
You're 1 minute away, sir.
Yes.
Seconds are ticking. Time is...
So here we go. The Daleks Master Plan. The Doctor arrives on the planet Kemble with his companions Katerina, who's from ancient Rome, and Stephen Taylor, whom he picked up in the chase. Taylor is very ill, and the Doctor goes out to find medicine for him. However, he is quickly knocked out by a man who basically storms his way into the TARDIS, claiming that the Doctor sent him. He sits down in a chair and is promptly incapacitated by it. The Doctor comes in and mentions the fact that the chair is magnetized. The Doctor has seen a city, and he goes to explore, but he discovers the fact that the city is actually full of Daleks. He goes back to the TARDIS and discovers the fact that the door is open because his companions have escaped, including the young man who was sealed to the chair, who managed to convince Katerina to let him go because he gave pills to make Stephen well. They meet up with the Doctor in the wilderness, and they decide to go check out the city to see what's going on, and in it they discover not only Daleks, but the fact that the protector of the solar system, a man by the name of Mavic Chen, has also landed and appears to be betraying them all. This gives the Doctor an excuse to sneak into whatever conference is going on, disguised as one of the delegates. Mavic Chen is supplying them with an item called... Anybody?
I just watched this.
Terranium.
Terranium.
Which is powering a Dalek weapon called the Time Destructor. The Doctor steals the Terranium and manages to flee into Chen's ship. But the Daleks are wise to this and manage to steer the ship to crash on the planet Desperus, where they pick up a unwelcome hitchhiker. As they take off again, he tries to hijack the ship and sends them back to Kemble. But Katarina opens up the airlock and sucks her and him out, and they proceed to go to Earth, where they stay there for all of 10 minutes before they are beamed all across space to the planet Myrna, where they're right next to Kemble. Myrna has invisible aliens, so when the Dalek ship lands, it causes all kind of havoc, and the Doctor and companions steal the ship. But the Daleks steer the ship to Kemble. The Doctor, in the meantime, has made a fake copy of the Terranium, and they pull a switcheroo on Mavic Chen and the group by giving them the fake Terranium and escaping in the TARDIS. Thus begins a madcap little trip through first a 1960s police station and then a 1920s film set, as they do a merry little chase before taking off again. They arrive on a volcano planet where they discover their old enemy, the meddling monk. They get away from the monk but have to stop again in Egypt to make some repairs, and they lay a minor trap for the monk. The Daleks also show up, and while they do manage to sabotage the monk's TARDIS, they are forced to hand over the actual Terranium. The Doctor uses the parts from the monk's TARDIS to make them go straight back to Kemble, where they've discovered the Daleks have turned on all of the people on their council of evil.
Okay, surprise.
They let them go, and the Doctor goes down into where the Daleks are actually layered, secretly underground, and basically manages to reactivate the Time Disruptor, but not before Mavic Chen marches in, demands the Daleks pay obedience to him, and is promptly exterminated. The Doctor has activated the Time Disruptor and uses it as a bluff for him, Stephen, and Sara, who they picked up on Earth after the previous man, Vaughn, was killed by her, I should add. And they managed to bluff their way back to the TARDIS, but not before the Time Destructor takes its toll on the Doctor and Sara, who ages into dust. Stephen helps the Doctor into the TARDIS and flips the Time Destructor into reverse, allowing the Daleks to de-age themselves as they try to turn it off. The Doctor then mentions on what a waste it is, and Stephen is distraught over the death of Brett, Katarina, and Sara, but they move on to the next time and space. Ha!
Bravo,
4 minutes.
This first appearance of the Brigadier was really weird.
Actually, I don't think this is the Brigadier. I think this is the Brigadier's descendant.
Yeah, pretty much.
In which case, awkward.
He dies and everything.
Well, his two descendants, because they are brother and sister, which is also really awkward.
And
they both die.
You all doubted my power.
That's because you said you shortened it before, and it still lasts like 10 minutes or more.
Longest episode of Doctor Who, 5 minutes.
I believed in you all along.
Which, by the way, makes it less than 30 seconds per episode.
Well, the thing is, you could literally cut everything from episode 3 to about episode 10 or 11 and still have a coherent story.
Yeah, a lot of the elements are actually repeated.
It's basically episode 1 and episode 2, and then a merry chase followed by episodes 11 and 12.
And don't forget swapping out name.
Musical companions.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'd forgotten the Vaughn to Sara swap in my summary, but I managed to work it in. Posthumously is actually a good term. Oh God, this episode is long.
Yes, it is.
Since we have
Yes.
since we have the extra time, I'm going to take a bit and talk the fact that this is a 12-part episode with a 1-part prequel, of which only 3 parts actually exist with full footage.
3 parts do? I thought it was only
Yes,
2.
episodes 2, episodes 5, and episodes 10 exist
I only
in
thought
their
5 and 10
completeness.
did. Okay, so 2's there, apparently.
Yep. 2, 5, and 10 exist completely.
Well, no wonder I couldn't find 2.
But all
See,
the others,
there's
including Mission to the Unknown, all exist only in stills or fragments, which makes this a bitch to listen to.
Yeah,
Because there's so much of them going through the swamp where all you got are swamp creatures, you know.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind the telesnapped version. Mine was actually kind of animated a little bit, but
I
got
listened
a
to
little
essentially a read book version of the script. So when there wasn't actual dialogue, it was a guy narrating.
Yeah, I've tried doing that. I tried doing that with Shadow once, and it just annoyed the hell out of me.
I don't know. Apparently, it's up to the individual because for me, it works perfectly fine. Apparently, for you, it drives you bonkers. I don't get it.
So,
yeah.
Apparently, interesting enough, this apparently was the episode in which Terry Nation left the BBC to go to America.
That's why the last couple of episodes are only an idea by Terry Nation.
Basically the last half of this, and then the next 2 complete Dalek serials. All written by former script editors, it's worth noting.
Terry Nation apparently wrote the outline for this, and then wrote episodes 1 through 5 and 7. 7 being
somehow I don't think he wrote the monk into the outline. Pretty sure that was all Spooner.
And yeah, then Dennis Spooner wrote 6 and then 8 through 12, which is right where the monk picks up, yes. Because apparently he needed to write filler. But you could almost tell. Although how Terry Nation wrote 7, I don't know.
Maybe he wrote it when he was in America.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, it's not his writing style.
Oh.
Which one was 7?
That was the Feast of Stephen episode.
That is really not his style.
Because you've got all this...
He's the credited writer on that one?
Yes, he is.
That is.
That's a really odd episode.
Unless that's one where they took, a few paragraphs from Nation and then the current script editor wrote it, but they couldn't put their own name on it, so they just put Terry Nation's name on it. Who was the script editor? That would have been damn it. Donald Tosh. Yeah.
See, what I think happened was Terry Nation landed in America, went to Hollywood, and wrote about the strange sights and sounds he saw there.
There's LSD.
According to the credits, the serial was written by Terry Nation through 1 through 5 and 7, and Spooner 6 and 8 through 12, with the credit from an idea by Terry Nation. Donald Tosh claimed in an interview that the work done by Nation on the serial amounted to less than 20 pages of work, and that he wrote most of Nation's episodes. However, David Brunt, who is a doctoral historian, has disputed this, saying that Nation submitted over 30 pages of script for each of his episodes, apart from the Feast of Stephen, and that Tosh only polished the dialogue and or cut scenes out of time for budget reasons. So again, you've got 2 different people that are saying 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the Feast of Stephen, the Christmas episode, is it was intended to actually to be a crossover with Zed Cars, which was a popular police drama at the time. We've mentioned Zed Cars on the show before. However, the Zed Cars people said no.
I can
So
see
they
where some of the
basically made
Zed-Cars
it
idea comes in, yeah.
So they made it a generic Liverpool area police station instead of a actual, the actual Zed-Cars police station. One of the other parts that's a wonderful in-joke in there, by the way, is the fact that there is Red Pritchard, who appears in there as the man who's coming to complain about how they're moving his greenhouse. Had previously played Ben Dahir in The Crusade, and the doctor looks at his face and goes, "Wait a minute, I recognize you. You're the market owner in Jaffa." The fact that they did a tongue-in-cheek reference to his previous role was, I thought, pretty nice. Also, Jean Marsh was in this. What did she play? I think she was one of the actresses in the film scene. No, she was Sarah Kingdom.
Yeah, she was. I was gonna say, isn't she Sarah Kingdom?
Yeah, she was Sarah Kingdom, and she would later go on to play Morgaine in the Seventh Doctor serial Battlefield.
Oh.
She was also once married to John Pertwee.
Oh.
So that's how she makes it onto all of those official companion lists.
She barely did do it.
I grew up believing that she was an official companion.
Well, she traveled in the TARDIS more than once, in fact.
Yes, she did, but the other half of that coin is, had she survived...
So did Riddell.
Had she survived, would she have continued traveling with the Doctor, or would she considered her duty done and gone back to, work at Space Command or at Earth Command?
She seemed to have a pretty good chemistry going with that group, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually liked her character. Although
she was actually the blonde character compared to everyone else.
I'm not sure how likely the Doctor would be to take on as a companion. Someone who's, hey, there's my brother. I'd better shoot him dead before I ask any questions.
Well, she traveled with him most of the time afterwards. It's almost like a journey of salvation for her.
Pretty much.
Which is what makes her such an interesting character, because she does have she has a decent character arc, because she still, has kind of the bloodlust. She still has kind of the feeling that, traitors need to be executed, or, loyalty above everything. And she finally has to get over that when she, confronts Chen, and yeah.
There's parts of her personality that I think would later be reused for Nyssa.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And for Zoe. Would actually be closer. That smug, I'm smarter than all of you. Because you see that a lot in the Feast of Stephen, where they're, doing their normal Doctor Who, running around, getting involved in stuff, and she's just like, and goes and fixes the scanner herself. I think if she had stayed, she would have been an interesting companion.
She would have been one of the more interesting companions. I would think even more so than some of the new Who companions. She would be more rounded than even some of them.
Yeah.
Like some people might disagree. Some people might say that Rose is still a fairly flat character, but she would probably rival Rose for complexity, definitely.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any reason why Marsh was written out, but I can't find anything.
I thought there's like a reason, like she won't. Maybe.
Other than the fact that Dr. Scripts at that time pretty much were going for bad endings, and the Doctor not winning, I would think would mainly be the main impetus behind that. I don't know if it was an actor-related decision.
I thought there was something.
She was
like
apparently
that.
in an adventure in space and time, in a unbilled cameo. I'm gonna have to rewatch that now. And she was in the previous serial as Lady Joanna, the sister of Richard I.
Oh.
So she was also apparently in Upstairs, Downstairs.
She's kind of all over the place,
excuse me.
isn't she?
Well, yes, she played Rose Buck in Upstairs, Downstairs, which she helped create. So, wow, she's very talented.
And is she still around, apparently?
Yeah, I think so. Well, if she was in for an adventure in space and time, then yes, she is, because that only came out a year and a half ago.
Yeah, not even 2 years yet.
She was born in 1934, so she's 80, so she's hit good run, so she could technically kick it at any time, but she is still active in the film community, apparently, as of right now.
What was her real name again?
Jean Lindsay Torin Marsh, OBE. So, yes, I don't know if that would mean that she would be Dame Jean Lindsay Torin Marsh or not. Again, that darn OBE, you can't really tell.
You said Jean Lindsay... Tori.
Jean, Jean, Lindsay, Lyndsey, Torin, Torren, Marsh, Marsh.
I just have her listed as Jean Marsh.
That's what she was credited in the credits as.
That's why I found
okay, there we go. Now I found her. Yeah, I just shorted it to Jean Marsh.
That's what her Wikipedia page is.
You asked what her name was, not what she was billed as.
God,
Potato
that
rutabaga.
Is a mouthful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think the first and last name would work.
All right. So, yeah, she was apparently married John Pertwee from 1955 to 1960. So she had already divorced Pertwee by the time Doctor Who started.
Yeah.
Apparently there was no plans to have Sara continue as a character beyond the Daleks Master Plan.
So she was written to die there, and everybody,
Also, the official BBC website cites as a myth the notion that Sara was created as a companion to replace Katarina.
Well, she does kind of pick up from almost the same episode that Katarina exits, so...
Yeah, she also, apparently... Marsh herself said, according to the Wikipedia page for Sara Kingdom, Marsh herself said in a 2003 interview for the Loose Cannon Telesnap Reconstruction, which can be found on Daily Motion, that she would definitely not have continued in the role past Master Plan, even had it been offered to her.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Which makes it strange that she returned for Companion Chronicles, but then again, a lot of people said they'd never come back to Doctor Who and came back to Big Finish, so...
Yeah, but most of those are 80s people.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should probably start getting to our normal,
system here,
things here. So, let's go on with what you liked in general, and starting with you, Matt.
What's something I liked in general? I like that the Daleks are for sure the main threat again. They did get a little too comical last time. This time they are dead serious. Even to the point that they have already pre-planned backstabs after backstabs.
Yep. And they had pretty much evolved into their proper Dalekness as we would see from here on out. I mean, you've got everything. You've got the subordinate Daleks responding with I obey, frequently in unison.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got you've got exterminate and annihilate, both being used.
You've got time traveling Daleks, which you wouldn't always get, but you.
But I mean,
still get mentions of it. Yeah.
You've got, but I was talking personality-wise. They finally have gotten the Dalek role that we would see throughout the rest of it. And, they've been a little. It started to fluctuate. We were seeing variations from the Daleks through Invasion of Earth and the Chase, where they weren't, quite stable. But this is now the formula. They found the formula. This is the formula that we will see even in the 80s for Daleks. Even today, it's most of what we see for Daleks.
Yeah, I think the Daleks are a little bit more sarcastic now than they were in the serial, but that's about the only difference.
They learned sarcasm from the humans.
From the Doctor.
They learned back-talking only when nothing else was in earshot.
All right, so Tim, what did you like?
In general, I liked the creature designs of the aliens and the makeup effects.
Yeah.
I heard somebody bitch about makeup that was used, I think, sometime in the last series, that it seemed to be Star Trek makeup. And if you look at the aliens in the conference in this particular episode, it's basically the forerunner of Star Trek makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got the guy that basically has...
When you say last series, are you talking about season 2, as in the last series of this one, or are you talking about of New Who?
I'm talking about New Who, series 9.
Oh, well, I know when we discuss A Town Called Mercy, Star Trek makeup always comes up.
Okay, it might have been Mercy. That's series 7, so close enough. But yes, Star Trek makeup shows up as mentioned here. But if you look at this is the forerunner of Star Trek makeup. You have a guy, perfectly normal face, that has foam, basically stalactites hanging off of it. He's an alien. You've got another guy that has, like, colored
Hershey Kisses
giant
on his
bubble
face.
wrap on his face. Yeah. And he's an alien. So it's Star Trek makeup, and this is way back in the beginning of the 3rd season of Doctor Who. So anybody that's bitching about a little bit of ink on the face constitutes an alien can watch this episode and shut the fuck up.
Bit of ink on their face. Heck, we got a guy with a fancy top hat for an alien.
Speaking of makeup, I was torn. Is the presentation of Malik Chen offensive to anyone?
Not particularly.
I was kind of wondering.
I was going to bring
that.
that up, considering that it's a white guy in both blackface and yellowface at the same time.
Yeah.
I kind of was.
It is a little awkward.
That was going to be one. That was going to be one thing I was probably going to bring up as one of my negatives of the serial.
It is a little awkward. I will admit
don't know.
that,
I
but
was just mesmerized by his outfit.
Yeah. I think it's much more that it's a character, not a caricature.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem to be playing any specific race.
No,
Yeah.
but the fact that he's in
guy.
blackface and yellowface at the same time, in a 1960s serial, tends to have the implications that yes, he's the ambiguously ethnic evil person that a white man almost could never be. I think they. Yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see it that way, Bill, because there are plenty of white guys in Doctor Who that turn out to be the villains.
Yes.
Sometimes the villains are overly Aryan.
There are, but this in particular is a trope, and it
is not very uncommon in 60s Doctor Who for having a white guy play a racial guy. In fact, it's not that uncommon in the 70s either. The guy that plays the Chinese magician in Talons of Wang Chiang was a white guy.
Yeah. I was kind of having problems seeing him actually as a human being because the makeup is so heavy and so his forehead is so pronounced,
almost elongated.
And
yeah.
He almost looked like a Klingon to me.
Kind of what it looked like to me, too. I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be an old alien Klingon-like thing, or if he was a human. And if he was a human, was he black? Was he Asian? Because that makeup kept changing from scene to scene.
Yeah.
I wonder if the people who designed the original Klingons saw this episode and got any ideas.
Probably not, because Doctor Who really wasn't big around here until the 80s.
But you never know.
It's possible.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's not likely.
How big was Star Trek over in Britain, though?
It was big then, but that's not the issue. The issue is this aired the same year that Star Trek premiered. Only this aired.
This aired about a year or two before Klingons.
Actually, I'm not sure about that.
Because Klingons
I think Klingons aired
season,
during season 1.
Oh, they come in season 1? So it's relatively
I think so.
the same time.
Either season 1 or early season 2. Either way, 1 year is very hard. Is back in the 60s, 1 year is a very hard do going from from PAL to NTSC, and going overseas. It usually took about 2 to 3 years. So it's very unlikely that somebody working for Star Trek actually saw the makeup for this particular episode. It would have been a 1 in 1,000 shot. It's just similar evolution.
Alrighty.
Yes, I believe 66 September was when Star Trek first aired.
Yeah, for me, because there's so many galaxies involved with this, and these are like galaxies. We are beyond our own galaxy at this point. It is
the year 4000. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was they do bring up more systems than just ours that they plan to attack.
For me, it's very easy to presume that the guardian of the solar system is not human and is in fact some kind of alien representative that, maybe perhaps claims his offices on Earth or something like that.
Or maybe he's a half-breed.
Yeah, it could be too.
But by the way, the first appearance of the Klingons was in March of this coming year, so it would have been about probably about 2 months after the serial finished airing. Just for that.
Yep, and that's not enough time for an episode to make it over to America. Even if the serial did go over to America, it did go to Australia. Because this was actually the first serial to be aired in Australia.
No, Marco Polo wasn't?
No. It took this long for ABC, being the Australian broadcasting company, to pick up Doctor Who for an airing. And it just so happened that this was the first serial that they got.
And wasn't this kind of censored too? There was some kind of censorship in Australia.
There's kinds of censorship in Australia.
I'm talking specifically for the serial.
I think nearly every serial of Doctor Who that aired in Australia got censored in one way or another. The Australian censorship board, if you ever wondered where the Nazis went that disappeared, they went to Australia and started working for the censorship board. They are that strict.
Yeah. You wonder why a lot of people have a problem with them.
There are scenes that were left on the cutting room floor of the Australian censorship board that have been picked up and are chunks of serials, only remaining scenes that survive today. And I've looked at those and I go like, what the hell was wrong with that?
And yet this is the same censorship board that is okay with Mad Max. Thumbs up to Australia. Oh my!
I don't know. Do those films get censored when they're there?
No, not that I'm aware of. They've been more or less outside of the usual, what you would call, I guess, sort of pseudo Australia Hollywood. They're independent movies. They don't get censored.
Aussie Wood. We're dubbing it Aussie Wood. Aussie Wood. That's even better.
Aussie Wood, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as I'm aware, they never
Okay,
got
so
censored.
where were we on who? I
we
think
just
Tim went.
Tim.
Bill, your likes.
Your general.
I'm going to go with the fact that they took the chasing them around time and space idea from the chase and made it part of the credible threat of the Daleks. So they expanded on what was already there, but without keeping that one-time comedy flair and actually making it more threatening.
Let's make it the chase, but try to actually make it serious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although there was a little bit of comedy in there, such as a scene that I'm going to be mentioning later on, but that's for later on.
All right, and Aaron, what did you like in general?
In general, I liked Sara Kingdom overall. Like her general growth throughout the serial. There was, not one particular scene that she was in, but just her general transformation over the entirety of the serial, and eventually her death at the end of it. Because, I felt she went from being like a cold-blooded killer to someone who admitted, Brett Vian was my brother, and then she had to kind of come to terms with that. And I think she finally found like solace in the company of Steven and the Doctor. And eventually she comes to trust and care about them enough that she's willing to risk her life and give her life to escort the Doctor to safety.
Why, Aaron, do I hear a touch of shipping?
Shipping?
Shipping. Yes.
Oh, you're talking about Sara and Steven? Nah.
Yes.
For me, yeah. It's kind of a cool arc. I was gonna say Sara Kingdom needs Nomad.
Okay. So I actually have to go with the other half of that coin, and what I really liked was Brett Vian. It was interesting to see Nicholas Courtney play a character that wasn't the Brigadier, and yet at the same time kind of was. It's very obvious that he salvaged a good chunk of Brett Vian when he made the Brigadier. And, of course, that time it really took on because he remained the Brigadier up to his death.
Pretty much.
And will still always be known as...
he's still the Brigadier now. He just appeared in an episode last year as the Brigadier.
Yes. But not Nicholas Courtney. The Brigadier appeared, but not...
His profile did. His portrait, I mean.
His portrait appeared. Yeah, he will always remain to Doctor Who fans the Brigadier for eternity for that role. And it was just interesting to see him not playing that role, but at the same time, he still kind of was. So
he was,
I don't know. Did Courtney just do a career of playing military men?
Apparently. He did for Doctor Who, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think he just had that. I think he just had that kind of face.
Yeah, and voice.
Yeah, he had that. He had the commanding voice, for which we will love him forever and ever and ever.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to mention...
he was actually born in Cairo.
No. I also wanted to mention how it was kind of interesting how they kind of differentiate between the Doctor, Sara, and Steven's knowledge of science and everything. Steven is from a future version of humanity, but it's one that is not quite as advanced as Sara's. And then, of course, you have the Doctor, who is the Time Lord, who's like far, far more advanced than even Sara Kingdom's idea of science. So I thought that was kind of interesting because Steven, when we saw him in the chase, he was pretty far ahead of the humans that he was interacting with.
Did we ever establish when he came from?
It says, according to Wikipedia, it's the 23rd century. Mm-hmm. So that would make him a contemporary of Captain Kirk.
Mm-hmm. And Sara's
makes sense considering what he's doing.
And and
Sara's from 2,000 years after that. or so.
She's from her home era is the year 4000. It actually lists it by number as instead of the
So it's about 1800 years, I should say.
Then Captain Jack is another 1,000 years in the future.
Yep.
Wait, Captain Jack is from 5000?
Yeah, the 51st century, I think.
Yeah.
So between another 1,000 years, the time agency starts up, and yada yada yada. All right, so let's go on to in general. What didn't you like? And again, we're starting with you, Matt.
Didn't like. Does the fact that most of the serial ends up missing count? Because it is kind of a drag.
Yeah, I feel like we'll all have two major complaints that the BBC would not have expected in 1966.
Was it for anyone else about the missing episodes? But for me, the still footage they got, like the still photographs to recreate, were the most unfortunate shots of William Hartnell. Because the faces he was making were like just bizarre, ugly, out of focus, and it was like it looked like he was like in pain sometimes, or it looks like he was trying to hold in a fart.
I don't think a good photo of Katerina survived.
I don't know. I didn't mind the Katerina photos that I saw and everything. What I hated, and this is going to be a specific scene, but I'm only talking about this in reference to what Tim just said, is where they're being transported to the other across there, and whereas you look at Stephen and you look at Katerina, their eyes are closed and they're grimacing in pain.
Are you talking about Sara?
You're talking about Sara,
Stephen
not Katerina.
And Sara, right?
Yeah, Stephen and Sara. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
there's so many musical companions in here. It's hard to remember which is which at any given time. Yeah, but it's Stephen and Sara at the time. But the Doctor has his eyes open.
I thought that was nightmare fuel.
It was nightmare fuel.
The way that he just glares at the camera and like his eyes are wide open and his face is just melting into the whiteness, and it's just like, oh my fucking god! I see a face in
the one where I think it's like the train. I think like the Terranium is supposed to be strobing or something like that.
Yeah.
No.
Or whatever.
The teleporting thing.
No, it's the one where they walk into that experiment with the rats.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. The teleporting thing.
The mice in the tank. And it's the prequel for them getting beamed to Myrna. And when they start the experiment, they show everybody, writhing in pain, and they keep doing that black to white flash.
Yeah.
And eventually it goes to an all white flash. It's just this saturated black and white.
And it's and you're watching this, and you're watching the fact that while the others have their eyes closed while they're grimacing, the Doctor doesn't, and it's just absolutely nightmarish.
It's one of the most it's disconcerting because it's like someone took a smiley face and just drew this horrible crooked smiley face on a white piece of paper.
It's not his face that bugged me. It was his eyes.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. Is his eyes are open, and they're just, because it's a saturated black and white. It's just pure kind of black.
The thing is, you expect his eyes to go black. They don't. They're still white. It's like your brain automatically tries to transverse it back, and it's like he suddenly has black eyes. It's like, no. I'm like, oh my god, is that actually what Hartnell did for that? Jesus. Gary, you wouldn't want to meet the Doctor after that, man. You'd see the Doctor, you'd wet your pants.
You look into the void looks back. It has the face of the first Doctor.
Yeah, that's kind of...
I seriously want to take a clip from that and actually make a demotivational poster for it. The First Doctor. Would you really want your kids to meet this man? Okay, Bill. I think that counts for Tim's hate in general. How about yours?
This is something that the BBC could not have expected in 1966, but 5 hours is too long for one story.
Yeah.
At the same time, it is coming from the age of serials.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm hesitant to say this because it's not a criticism I could have used in 66, 67. But watching it now, it has to be a negative in terms of actually recommending this episode.
Matt, how long do those Flash Gordon serials you have go?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking one run of them was about 12 episodes. And I want to say each episode was something like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, more like 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, with all the credits and everything. So, yeah. Even the entire run of that is technically shorter than this. Just for one of those serials all the way through. If you're taking, again, one serial at a time.
Okay.
I think they would be just barely like this, but that's also why I tend to split them in half. Even then, I swear that it's shorter than this. Yeah, I think I'm doing some of the Doctor Who, I'm doing some of the Flash Gordon again, I believe this year again, right?
I don't know.
I think I think I am, and I believe I'm only doing it for like 2.5 hours, which means that maximum it'll be 4 to 5.5 hours, 4.5 to 5 hours. No, brain restart. But somewhere between 4 and 5 hours maximum, which means that this is a half hour entire episode longer, and I would assume that the Flash Gordon serials actually have a reason there as long as they are. Whereas this was kind of fluff for a couple episodes.
What do you hate?
In general, gosh. I kind of didn't like any of the monks stuff. It seemed kind of slapped together and kind of, I guess I understand that they would recruit him. They would try to sick a Time Lord to go after another Time Lord, but he's just not ruthless enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of wish that the Master had been around.
He's more of an annoying trickster.
The monk is kind of the prototype for the Master in many ways, but
actually,
he was a lot more
in this serial,
cowardly.
I kind of saw the monk as a prototype for Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
I could have seen Troughton in that role.
Pretty much.
And I can
see.
I can see Chen as kind of a prototype for the Master too.
Dennis Spooner wrote The Time Meddler, so this was probably him just, needing to go back to his own stuff.
Yeah. For example,
they want me to make some more episodes.
Yeah, like I was saying, is that I can see Chen probably, or the Master taking in Chen's role or the monk's role, but the monk I wasn't quite so fond of. He didn't pose enough of a threat, and he wasn't menacing enough, and he wasn't entertaining enough. He was just kind of this buffoonish, con artist. Except he didn't have the charisma for it.
Yeah, when I had heard the monk was in this serial, I thought he was actually part of the conspiracy. But no, he
pretty much shows up to be punked by the Doctor.
Yeah, he's pretty much just a side bump. And this takes us kind of to my big issue with this one, is the fact that there is so much over and back, side to side, that it's just absolutely inane. and you spend more time traveling in this serial than you actually do in any location, that it gets old quick. It spends so long on that it doesn't bother developing any plot, and it's just it really hurts this story. Okay, so scene that you like. Matt, we'll start with you.
Oh, kind of hard to pick out one you like when you don't actually get to see it. Although I guess if I do have to point something out, I guess the kind of League of Evil outer space villains was kind of an interesting concept, at least from what little we get to see of it.
Mm-hmm.
Led by Bad Space Horse.
So wait, the
Yes.
the Black Dalek is Space Horse?
Space Horse. All right.
Space Horse.
Tim, your favorite scene.
The scene where the TARDIS appears at the cricket match, and the announcers just seem entirely unimpressed by it. It was like, oh, look, that'll hold up the match. Well, even if they get it off the field in 10 minutes, that leaves England 35 minutes to score 72 goals. Oh, wait, it's disappeared again. So now we're back to the match.
You know, I think Douglas Adams did his own take on that scene later when, he had a Chesterfield sofa appear in Lords. Was that the scene that you were going to talk about, Bill?
No.
Okay.
Yes!
Finally picked one.
No. Well, I thought that was the scene Bill was going to talk about for his least favorite.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Okay.
No. I had a scene I was going to mention that I enjoyed that was actually somewhat comical. Is it my turn, or is it somebody else's turn?
Yes, it is. It is your turn.
I'm going... The scene where the Egyptians start building a wall to trap the Dalek, and the Dalek is shouting, "Help me! Help me!" And I had to rewind, like, what the hell did I just see?
That's Dennis Spooner writing.
Help me.
Yeah, the Daleks did lose a little bit of credence when Spooner took over writing, but he did manage for the most of it to follow Nation's threatening Daleks. Aaron, your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is the one where everything can be solved by adding more mice.
I suppose we could send more mice.
Yes, I love that scientist.
I want to know what his fascination with mice is.
He's so mousy himself. He's just this quiet, cute old man who just wants to play with mice. He just thinks they're so awesome.
My brain just went sideways on this. So I see the scientist carrying a container into the thing. It's like, gee, Bright, what are we doing tonight? The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Get beamed to another world.
That sounds wonderful.
Anyway, okay, so my favorite scene is pretty much anything in episode 7. You could pretty much name a scene. Actually, no, I will say the last half of episode 7. And I know this sounds strange for me, but I absolutely loved that.
That episode just didn't do it for me.
The fact that they went into it deliberately not taking it seriously. I mean, if they had been trying to take it seriously and it was coming out comedically, I wouldn't have liked it. But they're just it's reminding me of, when Sam Raimi basically went to hell with it with Evil Dead 2 and went for comedy instead of horror. They're basically just taking the piss out of it, and it is just absolutely hysterical to me. Like, they open the door and there's Charlie Chaplin. And then there's the scene where he's talking to this guy, and it's like, I try to do this, and Chaplin's done it. I try to do this, and Chaplin's done it. maybe I'll give up comedy and go a career as a singer. But whoever heard of a singer named Bing Crosby? And my brain actually downshifted on that because he looked more like Buddy Hackett.
Maybe I should go for the Buddy Hackett.
The actor looked like Buddy Hackett. He dressed like Buddy Hackett. Then he said his name was Bing Crosby. My brain went, what? The fact is that might appeal to me more, Bill, because I'm very familiar with those 1930s comedies. So I got every reference they made in there. It's like, oh my God, it's the Keystone Cops. And the entire scene, the whole meanwhile in the, what was it, the Sultan's or the Sheik's tent is basically Rudolph Valentine, Rudolph Valentine, a very, very, very well-known silent film actor.
Yeah. I remember seeing scenes of that Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh no,
Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, it's was it The Prince of Arabia or something like that? It's a silent film that's really popular.
Yeah, and they were basically
Nights.
I forget what it was, but they were taking they were taking the piss out of it, and I was just laughing the entire time I'm watching this. I think Aaron came home while I was watching that.
By the way, the lead actress is played by Sheila Dunn, the lady in the sawmill. Apparently, she was Douglas Camfield's fiancée at the time the episode was in production. The two would later marry just before the serial was complete in production. Camfield would also cast her in a minor voice role in The Invasion and a major screen role in Inferno.
Oh, by the way, the one that they were taking the piss out of there was just called The Sheik.
Oh, The Sheik. Okay.
1921. So that would actually give us a time that this was around 1921. And it for everything they were doing, I was just laughing my ass off the entire time. And the doctor comes in and, no, the lady's not right. Put clothes on her. And the guy at the camera's like, no. And then Sara pops out of the thing. It's like, she keeps telling me to take my clothes off. I loved every minute of it. It was so hysterical to me. I loved it. Okay, so now we go to the dark side. Scenes, in particular, you didn't like. We'll start with you, Matt.
Scenes I didn't particularly like. Trying to really think of one. I think the one time I didn't like it was Shen. What was his name?
Mavic Chen.
Chen. The one and only time he seems to rub me wrong is at the very end when he starts doing really obviously stupid shit.
Where he goes nuts.
It's one thing to be nuts. It's one thing to force people to do very obviously stupid things even while you're nuts.
Yeah, he went from megalomaniac nuts to delusional megalomaniac nuts. And
are you talking about the scene with the council or after that?
He obviously starts to lose it during the council, but in particular when he's taking Sara and Steven hostage. After blowing up his own ship, which was also a big stupid idea.
He starts making stupid mistakes. Kind of. He becomes more campy too.
Yeah. He really does. Now you see, if he'd had the plan of yes, he blew up his ship, but he was basically going to kidnap them and try to force them to make his escape in the TARDIS. To go to someplace safe because he knew he couldn't go back to Earth. That I could have bought. That would have been bad guy, plan. Fake his death and then make his escape. But they didn't go that route. They went for, I am going to rule the universe. No, you're not.
I'm totally not Looney.
He went from being villainous mastermind to Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Excuse me. He went from being 84 Lex Luthor to 70s Lex Luthor. He went from being DC animated universe Lex Luthor to Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor.
I'm sorry, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor has more tact than this guy.
I'm now picturing Mavic Chen in a blue and orange. I mean, in a green and orange suit. His mech suit.
However, I will give this credit.
I thought it was green and purple.
That's not what I said. I know it's not. It's not what I said. I meant to say green and purple, but my mouth said other things because words out loud are not my thing. I heard myself say blue, and I'm pretty sure I also said orange, but neither of those are the words I was thinking of.
Yeah, the rest of us didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
I definitely was thinking green and purple, and that was what I wanted to say.
Okay, so who's not like were we on?
I just did, so it's Tim's, I think.
Okay, Tim.
The scene I didn't like was Katarina's death.
Mm.
Mainly
where
because
she gets sucked out into space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly because one, it's missing, and two, up until that point, I was kind of thinking, God, this character is annoying. No, wait, I didn't want you to kill her. Now I feel guilty.
I don't know if it makes you feel better or worse, but that death was originally written for Vicky, who ended up leaving in the previous serial instead.
Oh, wow.
That was supposed to be the way Vicky was going to leave the TARDIS.
Wow.
Oh,
So
God.
Katarina was just a pickup character because she left early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's dark.
Wow.
Especially since Vicky was really just kind of a stand-in Susan. It's pretty much like Susan being sucked out into space.
God,
well, Vicky was supposed to be the optimistic
the
optimistic youth from the future, and then this serial was pretty much, killer.
God, you have to admit, Terry Nation had some cojones.
He did at times, yes.
Yeah, but this is not overly surprising considering if you look at Blake 7. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, the death toll of Blake 7.
God, yes. I especially the final episode. AKA Blake 7, everybody dies.
Including Blake.
If I ever find a clip, I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to point out that everybody that dies in slow motion at the end of that episode is a main character.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
For my scene, I'm actually going to go with the other end of what Matt chose, pretty much for the same reasons. He goes from being at least a somewhat capable villain, and then he goes and starts tooting, crowing and tooting his own horn in front of the council, and we know the Daleks are planning to kill him soon. And then they lock him in the room and put the bars up there, and he's still acting like he's in charge, and I'm just waiting for everyone to tear him apart so he shuts up at this point. And for some reason they let him live.
Yeah.
I think it's because
the council should have torn him apart as he's screaming about his web.
It's like, they put these bars here because they trust me to lead you without them.
All
right, Aaron, what scene did you not like?
I didn't like the scene in Ancient Egypt, the scenes in there.
They were kind of fluff.
Yeah, especially with the guys warriors trying to fight the Daleks with spears.
Well, they at least admit that it didn't work.
Yeah. And it was just like, yeah.
But the best they could do is block a Dalek behind bricks.
That was kind of funny. Help me!
Hey,
They're
hey. Slowly cornering him behind a whole bunch of bricks, and then they're just gonna seal him up there or something. Well, apparently Doc still didn't know how to fly then, so ta-da.
Yeah. That was almost the chase funny.
Yeah,
But,
well,
yeah,
it was
it
written
was
by the same
just-
guy.
It's the only victory
yeah.
for the Egyptians for that fight.
Yeah,
Can you manage to
plus the
corner one
monk
Dalek?
is there, and he's trying to double cross them, and they
Is the
try to
monk
double
trying to double cross
the
them?
monk.
Because all I pretty much got the impression was that the monk was randomly there, and the Doctor used him as a patsy and stole bits from his TARDIS.
He
Pretty
was
much.
trying to sneak away, and he was going to try to turn him over to the Daleks, I thought. Because
I don't
they
know.
had
He
the
kept
vibranium.
flip-flopping.
The thing
He
is,
couldn't
the
decide
monk
which side
the,
he wanted
the
to be
monk was
on.
playing his little game with the Doctor, and he
Mhm.
kind of hit the Daleks, and he kind of went, "Oh shit." I mean, you actually see when the monk sees the Daleks for the first time, his eyes go from the mischievous gleam to "Oh holy fuck, I'm screwed."
And meanwhile, at that point, the Doctor is like, well, first, I'm going to trick the Daleks into chasing you, and then I'm going to steal bits from your getaway vehicle.
Yeah.
Noting that the Doctor can still be an asshole,
Mm-hmm.
but
For all
only
the right
towards
reasons.
The monk. Yeah.
Like, I kind of got the impression that, like, they went to high school together and just didn't like each other there. And the Doctor is getting getting him back.
It's like the monk. It's like the monk kept throwing the Doctor in the trash cans. That's an interesting mental picture, isn't it?
Oh, and there's
Yeah.
also the fact that apparently before a episode ended, he apparently somehow managed to pin the monk into a casket and wrapped him up like a mummy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, apparently he knocked him out because the monk is like, 1 minute I was telling the Doctor about the Daleks, next thing I know I'm in a sarcophagus.
How did the Doctor manage to drag him over? Because the monk is not a light person, and the Doctor is no spring chicken.
No, but
How
the
did this
Doctor
actually work?
The Doctor has shown reserves of strength that most people don't have at times. Probably tucked them out.
Which that was something else interesting, just slightly off topic, but we've seen in other episodes where they mention the Doctor is old and has weak lungs because of his age. And then at the beginning of this episode, he's like, I'm used to all sorts of atmospheres, but you guys... Oh, no, and I think it was the Feast of Stephen. He's like, I'm used to all sorts of atmospheres, but you guys would die on the pollution. Like, wasn't it the other way around a couple seasons ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no Ian now. Technically, there's Stephen, but again, that's also Feast of Stephen, so they're kind of taking the piss out of things.
Right.
All right, so what did I not like? Oh, jeez. What didn't I like? It was easy to tell you what did I like.
Yep.
Let's see, that we haven't covered. I think, oh God, no, not even that quite works. I don't know. I'm going to kind of take a pass on this, and again mention the transport scene of horrificness.
The semi-nightmare fuel. Remember, the first Doctor's watching, kids.
Yeah, seriously, I need to take a screenshot of this.
Actually, I think we need to make a GIF out of it and then add music to it or something and put that on YouTube.
I need to make a video of this, and because apparently Bill is I don't know if he's remembering it in its full nightmare fuel.
No, I
It's
remember it.
episode
I just
5.
couldn't quite figure out what was going on leading up to it. I thought it was something to do with the terranium, and I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, most of that, but mind you, that entire scene hits me as very stupid anyway. The fact that they're hanging around in this lab, and he stops and doesn't think, oh, this might be an experiment in progress. So I have an additional reason for that for that particular scene.
There you go.
That's right, and isn't that? And then don't they turn around a few scenes later, like, well, why didn't you stop the experiment? I couldn't. It was already started. You're an imbecile. I don't think he used the word imbecile though.
Yeah, it's that whole most of the stuff on Earth bugs the hell out of me, to be honest.
What was it called? Was it called molecular transportation or
something to that effect?
No, they didn't use transportation. They used another term.
It wasn't transmat, although it sounded like they were actually working on something like a transmat beam.
It was like molecular dissembly or something like that. It was they used a completely wrong term that made no sense to me. That really sounded like they were just, taking a random term and trying to apply it.
Ah, found the picture. Oh God. Man,
Post the picture. Post the picture.
Here. Oh God, here.
So everybody here can experience the nightmare.
Yep,
experience beige.
Molecular dissemination. I was right.
Yeah.
Do it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Experience beige.
This is going to be the nightmare fuel of the day.
Remember, kids, the first Doctor sees you in your dreams.
Yes. Oh, there it is.
You look into the void, and the Doctor looks back.
And this
I'm sorry, my brain is chanting Zagreus now. Zagreus. Zagreus lives under your bed and eats you when you're sleeping. Zagreus walks among the dead. Zagreus lives inside your head. Zagreus stays under your bed and eats you when you're sleeping. There we go.
Zool! Zool!
Zool, motherfucker, Zool! Okay, thank you for finding that, Aaron. I didn't need to make it myself.
Oh, I'm still going to take the clip and make some sort of bizarre little video just to staple on YouTube and make people tilt their heads and go, what the hell? Actually, that should have been my opening. Ah. Oh, that would have been a nightmarish opening. Anyway. I still think the opening for today was pretty good.
That was from an episode that actually was complete.
Yes, it's from episode 5.
Counterplot, wasn't it?
It's from episode 5. So yes, I can look it up and I could actually get all that footage.
Yeah, that was... So we pretty much saw that as it aired. God, that was so wrong. All right, we're 5 minutes early, but let's go ahead and go to final thoughts. So I'll go with you, Matt.
Oh, very disappointed that so much of this is missing. A lot of the story seems to be pretty solid for the most part. There are a few little weak links here and there, but they seem to be mostly nitpicks, as even Randy had to find a nitpick in order to find something that he could pry apart enough to make a bad scene. The Daleks are generally threatening with no...
It wasn't that, it was the fact that you all chose mine.
Even the Daleks were back to being their threatening selves with really no naysaying about that at all in this particular story, other than a few comical moments, which we very much took as just comical moments. Otherwise, a fairly solid story, although I will say that it gets a little needlessly dark, because since we have like 3 people who get killed in this episode that are essentially main characters.
That's something that happens a lot with this script editor, death and darkness in general.
Yeah. So, grain of salt, pretty good episode. Done.
All right, Tim?
All right, I did not like this episode as much as the chase.
It doesn't win your ultimate Uber seal of approval.
No, you guys talked about that?
A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think this story's main problem is that it kept stalling on the landing, on the runway, so to speak. It was like things were going to a head, and then it just sort of like puttered down. Like
It felt like
like
a grind to a halt for you then?
yeah. Yeah, and it seemed that for the Daleks Master Plan, it could have been about the Daleks Master Plan, and a better title would have been the Daleks try and enact their master plan, but stuff keeps happening. I think. And
The Chase Part 2.
yeah.
For most of my life, I was of the delusion that the chase actually happened after Master Plan. That it was the fact that was the Doctor foiling the Master Plan that caused the chase. But no.
That would have made sense.
It would have. That's why my brain did it, but, no.
It would have explained where the time machine and the chase came from. Or the DARDIS, as it's become known.
Yeah, but they had to reuse it for this, so, nah. All right. Bill.
This is a story that can be very good. Unfortunately, it's missing too much to live up to its full potential. And as a result is 5 hours of mostly reconstruction, which can get very tedious. Otherwise, it definitely does help the first Doctor's last season go through with a bang, and it would have, honestly, from a Dalek perspective, would have been a little disappointing had Hartnell continued, because he would have, obviously Hartnell Dalek stories would only have been able to go downhill from here. They could never have pulled off another Dalek Master Plan. Even they'd made the decision never to again later. So it definitely, brings this era of, the Daleks and their greatest enemy out with a bang. The biggest problem is how much of it's lost to time and just how much of it there was in the first place. This is one episode where I don't think being too dark is a problem, because it's the freaking Daleks having a freaking master plan. Darkness is kind of to be expected, and the Daleks are pulled off well themselves. So altogether, it comes off a pretty strong episode.
Aaron?
I actually really like this episode too. It puts the epic in epic as far as Doctor Who storylines go. It is very long, and there are, duplicate kind of scenes, or scenes that feel like they're being replayed throughout the serial. But that didn't quite bother me too much. I also like kind of the overarching feel. It's kind of got the same type of story that you'd find in like the old Flash Gordon serials, where you've got an evil person is aligning himself with a force of evil that he doesn't quite understand. So he's and in the end he winds up going insane because of it. So it's very much, got kind of the Faustian turn, the agreement between Chen and the Daleks, and on top of that you've got the Katarina's death, you have the introduction and death of Sara Kingdom. All of the characters are very strong. Yep, and of Brett Vian. You've got some very strong characters in here too, and even the monk, I guess, has his place, although he's not my favorite part of the serial. Definitely. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right. So my opinion is the fact that this episode is too long. Not because of the standard length of Doctor Who or anything like that, because the fact that it was not written strong enough to be 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This was maybe a 4 to 6 episode serial that they stretched for an additional 6 to 8 episodes, and it shows. There's way too much action that is entirely irrelevant to the plot. There's whole episodes where the plot doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
It's obvious that as an editor, if I was editing, this would have been cut back drastically, because there's so much that there's so much that's just pointless. For example, the entire planet Myrna could have been cut from this plot and just had them transport from Earth to Kemble and not have an issue.
Oh, you mean planet we don't have enough budget, so we don't have a new monster for this?
Yes.
There are monsters, they're invisible.
In addition...
Technically, Ran, it's Myra, as in Myra.
Myra? Okay,
yeah,
Myra.
Myra.
Well,
Like
either way...
Myra swamp.
Either way, that planet, it's planet irrelevant is what it really is.
Would you say that the plot was mired?
Honey, I know where you sleep. It is literally 2 steps from where I sleep. You might want to watch the puns. But no, seriously, it's too long, and the missing clip and the fact that most of it is missing also detracts from it. I can't tell you whether I would think this was a good serial if it was intact. Because I think it's basically been overwritten for what it's giving us. To be honest, the fact that the Daleks Master Plan is we're going to build a giant weapon and blow up chunks of the universe, that's kind of a Dalek plot in general.
A weapon that they can only use once, which is kind of weird.
And a weapon they are not impervious to.
It doesn't seem to be the world's greatest master plan to me. But
yeah, I would have thought the master plan would have been more intricate.
Yeah, me too. I had heard things about this episode, and I don't think it lived up to the hype, in my opinion. I was really actually disappointed in this episode. So
this actually was the first time I was able to pay attention to the whole thing, because I kind of forced myself to. Normally I start watching and I'm paying attention up until the point where Sara shoots Brett, and then by then it's just gotten on so long that I'm kind of half paying attention as I just play it in the background.
You realize that's like episode 4, don't you?
4 or 5, yeah.
No, it's 4.
It's 4?
It's
4. Usually that's why the last half of this is generally so fuzzy for me, and I just forced myself to finish watching it today and actually picked up the plot now that I was forcing myself to pay attention.
So let's go ahead and go to ratings, starting with you, Matt.
That was weird. I just heard a sound.
Sorry, I was fiddling with my microphone.
Oh, you're fiddling with your microphone.
I'm pretty sure if we actually had the footage.
Remember when we rate this, we have to rate it in the format in which we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact is, we cannot predict what our rating would be if it was complete.
I'm pretty sure.
We have to rate for the telesnaps.
Yes, let me do. Ooh, now. Okay.
Actually, I was just filling time so that I could open.
I will kill you. Okay, now. So without the original footage, I'm pretty sure the footage would definitely be an improvement compared to having to watch stills or listen to essentially a radio edit. But as it stands, definitely by no means horrible, but there are a lot of places that runs really average. So as it stands right now, with so much missing, from what it should be, I can only give it about a 3.5.
All right. Tim?
This episode is just sort of blah for me. It just kept stalling, never got anywhere. That's why, which just added to the padding. And so I'm just going to give this an average 3. 3 stars.
All right,
Bill?
Oh, if this were intact, I think I would be putting it along the lines of The Chase at a 4. Because of how difficult it is to physically watch it, I'm going to cause that to lower it down by half a point to give it a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Aaron?
I actually enjoyed the Telesnap version. It kind of reminds me, like Matt said, of a radio drama, but it forces me to use my imagination when I watch it. So, and on top of that, you have the Telesnaps to help guide my imagination. So, I'm actually going to give it a 4.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I did not enjoy this. And I probably, if I had a Telesnap version, would have given it a 3. But with the Telesnaps and everything, this gets a flat 2 from me.
Ouch.
It puts us at a 3.2 altogether rating.
So just barely above average.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that put it? On par with other things.
And Rand's
That
the
puts
Debbie
it on
Downer.
par with the Pandorica Opens the Big Bang, The Power of the Daleks, which also was downgraded due to Telesnaps, and Robot.
Yeah.
I'm sure the third Peter Cushing movie has a much more condensed version of this plot.
I wish there was a third movie.
This actually would have probably been a pretty good third Peter
Probably would have
Cushing
been a
movie.
pretty good third or fourth movie, yeah. Actually, yeah, gutting a lot of the unnecessary fluff and making this into a Dalek movie would have been perfect.
Maybe in an alternate universe, in 1977, Peter Cushing was making Dalek movies with George Lucas as director. And
George Lucas, I don't think so. Maybe Terry Nation's still at least writing it.
Yeah, this comes in at our 63rd spot between In the Forest of the Night and the Pandorica Opens.
Yeah.
all right,
so the mixed bag.
So that wraps us up for the Daleks Master Plan. If you enjoy listening to us, please consider subscribing on unearthlypodcast.insomniatic.co.uk, twitch.tv/unearthlypodcast, and mixcloud.com/n_unearthly_podcast. You can follow us and like us on social media on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to support us, you can come to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast. Don't forget to join us next week as we move on to the second David Whittaker Dalek episode with Evil of the Daleks.
As we mentioned, we've already done Power of the Daleks. So...
Where is the power of David Whittaker? Ooh.
I actually haven't seen Power of the Daleks, so I'll probably have to watch that and Evil of the Daleks in order to keep up with everything.
they're completely separate plots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a completionist, though.
You might want to see it just to overhear Patrick Troughton's first try at the Doctor.
Yeah.
But anyway, yep.